What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Don't Be Average podcast. I got a really good friend here. This is going to be an incredible time. My friend Lisseth is here. She is a nurse. She is the homegirl. We've been friends since junior high, seventh grade. We're both from Richfield. Whoop whoop. And now she is the owner and founder of Dynamic Drips. And Dynamic Drips is an IV.
It is a mobile IV.
You say it better than me.
Company.
Yeah.
So we're totally mobile. We are in a IV vitamin infusion company all over the state of Minnesota. We come right to your house, your place of work, your location of choice, and have about 30 nurses that work with the company now that practice this every day and help people feel better.
That's dope. That's so cool. So, guys, we're going to talk a little bit about her past, a little bit of history, what motivates her, and to be an incredible businesswoman. And then just kind of like, we're going to talk like throughout your whole journey a little bit, the kind of where you are now,
okay,
and this amazing business you got. Ready?
Let's do it.
All right, sweet. Tell us a little bit how you grew up.
How I grew up.
Yeah, because your family is awesome.
My family is awesome. I grew up with a pretty awesome family. My family came to Minnesota, the United States as a whole, from the country of Panama. So we came from the country of Panama when we were all younger, elementary school age, and came to Minnesota with no other family. We only had each other, so we became very, very close. The culture in my family, as you know, my dad cooked for the entire city of Richfield. His whistle would bring kids into their own homes when the street lights went off that weren't even his, because they knew that if Poppy whistled, it was time to go home.
Yep.
And we ended up living right in the center of the city, and all the kids knew who my family was, where my family was, and we've always been a family to bring in anyone and everyone that needed to, because we came here and didn't have many other people.
Literally, you have you, your sister, and two brothers. And each kid probably had 3 friends over.
All the time. And 3 that lived with us at some point or another. Yeah.
Looking back on that now, I'm like, how cool is that? Can you imagine doing that, though?
I do. Sometimes, yeah.
Because you kind of went through it. I can't imagine.
I feel like I've always been that house. Like my boys growing up, my oldest, Will, his football team, I remember, I make 25 cinnamon rolls every Saturday morning because they were all at my house on Friday night. So I became that in a sense, but I still look back and like you said, there was 4 of us and there was always multiple friends for each of us.
Yeah, and your house is right across from the high school.
Yeah, right across.
Literally right across from the tennis courts. Still there. I think I drove by it like a couple weeks ago.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
They still live there.
Good memories, man. That's super cool. Okay, talk to us a little bit, like after high school, how did you get into nursing? Did you know you wanted to get into nursing, or like what was the path of that?
I didn't. After high school, it's funny. So during high school, I actually graduated high school 6 months pregnant. So I became pregnant with my first child during my senior year in high school. And in that time, right after high school, I didn't really know what I wanted to be. I kind of had the world against me with just the fact that I was pregnant. I was 17 when I graduated high school, so I graduated young. I graduated 6 months pregnant, and then I had Will, who is the most wonderful human I've ever met in my life.
He's a good kid.
3 weeks to the day after my 18th birthday. So I didn't really have a plan. I, at the time, worked at Red Lobster, and that was back when they had like the bubble fish shirts. There weren't the cute like black and white tie. There was like neon bubble maternity shirts. They were great when you were 17. And I worked with a woman that was a nurse, or going to school to be a nurse. And then when I had my son, I actually got in a hit and run car accident when I was 8.5 months pregnant with him, and had to be rushed to the hospital. And I was very critical in that accident. The nurse that I had one nurse that treated me like I was a 17-year-old that was pregnant and didn't really pay attention to what I was saying. I didn't feel like that nurse cared really about me. They just my situation wasn't as important because of the fact that I was young and pregnant, or maybe she was having a bad day, we're not sure. And then I had the most wonderful nurse I've ever had in my life overnight that night, on probably one of the hardest nights of my life, because I had my baby. They had to take my baby because I couldn't even hold my own baby. And I had somebody that cared that happened to me. They cared how I felt. They made sure I knew that my baby was okay. And I literally was like, I want to be a nurse, and I want to be that kind of nurse when I'm done with this.
That's so cool.
That's my why. Her name was Nora. I will never forget that girl, and she will never know probably what she's done for my life. But
feel like that's a lot of nurses. They're like,
Yeah.
I went there and someone treated my mom this way,
Yep.
or some sort of relationship they have with a nurse. And they're like, I want to change people's lives this
Yep.
way. Yeah, that's super cool. I can't imagine doing that though. Like now they're having 4 kids, and for you to be 17 in that car accident is crazy.
Yeah, but we made it.
Yeah,
It's okay.
super strong.
Yeah.
Super strong. So your whole story is really about it's a lot of resilience and just keeping going and figuring things out. Ever since I met you, you just always got shit done.
I think you don't even see that though. You just do it. Like, and you say resilience, and I'm like, what? Like, I don't know. I just, it just happens. And I think I watch my parents do that too. I think about my dad, Poppy. He, if you really like step back and think, you just said you couldn't imagine doing that with kids. Could you imagine leaving this country, going to a land that you didn't speak the English, or you didn't speak the language, not whatsoever, with 4 kids, your wife, and 1 car, and $40, and that's it?
Absolutely not.
That man was 40 years old when we left the country of Panama.
He was 40?
He was 39. He was,
I'm 39. We're 39.
Yeah. He was our age with a family. He had an established career, and because that place was not safe for his family, we got up and left. So when you're like, I couldn't do that with kids, I think that set the precedence. I had seen no different. I saw nothing but my dad figuring it out, and it didn't matter what we had. It didn't all the kids in my house. Our house wasn't big. Our house wasn't nice. It was like little. It was on the corner. It was just a little rambler. Didn't even fit all those people, but they were there and they were welcome, and it was a happy place.
2 houses that housed a lot of people. 3 in Richfield. It was your house, O'Neill Hampton's house, and then he's unbelievable. And then also Sadie Parsley's house.
Sadie Parsley, the whole house.
Those were the 3 houses you hung out at, depending on who you were. But I totally remember those, and just the village of people that kind of helped to raise us was super appreciative of that. Now that I got kids, I'm like, man, how'd y'all do this?
I know.
It's nuts. So so that's how you wanted to become a nurse. How did your mom and dad meet?
So my mom grew up in Korea, and I know, right? Full blown school, high school, everything. My mom lived in Korea.
That's wild.
Her father was a missionary and was there building churches, and so the majority of her childhood was spent in Korea. And she went on a trip, rebelled a little bit in life. She was a little bit of a hippie, a little bit of a
I can see that.
Old Donna. She was who she was, and she was like, I'm going to Panama. And she went to Panama and met my dad. And no less than 3 months later, they were pregnant with my sister and married all of a sudden, and here we are.
Man.
Yeah, so they met.
Okay, so tell us how you got into nursing and like where you started and that kind of journey.
How it went. Okay.
Yeah.
So I got into nursing because when I was pregnant with my first son at a very young age, I had one really nice nurse and one very not so nice nurse. And I decided I would really like to be like that very nice nurse when I get established in life. So that is kind of how I got into it. I started my nursing career actually at the U of M East Bank. And it was on a hematology oncology unit, which are blood cancers, leukemia. They had just branched out and built the children's hospital. And I was on the adult hematology oncology floor where I saw more compassion than I think I've ever seen in nursing. And then very shortly after that, went down to the emergency room at the U of M, which then started the rest of my entire career. That was mostly ER, lots of level 1 trauma. I worked in peds ER, and then alongside the emergency setting the entire time, I have taught vascular access, but in multiple settings. So also specialized in vascular access at Children's. So IVs have always been my baby.
That's super cool. Is anybody else a nurse in your family?
No, my mom's a PA, so she's in the medical field, and then my sister is a dental hygienist.
Okay, so, kind of bouncing around there a little bit. Let's talk about you going to New York in the middle of COVID in 2020. Because I remember you called me. You're like, hey, I'm going. And I was like, wow. And so anyways, let's talk about that experience a little bit. Whatever you want to share, whatever you don't want to share.
It was all honestly still kind of surreal. I bought a home, closed on my house, and 8 days later, I believe, left to New York. I remember I said that I would do it. I did all the things. I actually got contacted by a nurse that I worked at the University of Minnesota with long time ago. And I was like, okay, I was supposed to go to California. And then very shortly before I left, it was, you're going to New York instead. And that was at literally what was named the worst hospital in the nation, the hospital that had been on the news that was housing bodies in ice trucks outside just like the week before I got there. So that was a big holy cow. I was going to leave my kids. It was a 13-week contract, and that was scary. I was kind of deciding, do I do it, do I not? And my middle son Ty looked at me and he goes, "Mom, you have to. You're going to be what our kids are learning about in history one day at school." And I was like, "Oh my gosh."
Dang.
And then my kids brought me to the airport. Will had a car by then. He was old enough to drive, which is crazy.
Probably a hot rod.
Oh yeah, black BMW, of course. So he had a vehicle. My kids dropped me off at the airport. We parked outside, and I begged the security guy to just let them leave the car there, as opposed to like going through the parking ramp, and just walk up to the check-in with me. And there was, I will not forget, the guy that checked us in. I was holding Presley. All my kids were crying, bawling, and I was talking through where I was going and what I was doing. And he looked at my plane boarding pass and said New York, um, and started bawling. And he, in the midst of it, goes, "I've worked here for 30 years. I've seen plenty of people separate from their families, and I have never cried until today."
Wow.
And he's like, "She got me," and pointed at Presley because I was holding Presley, and Presley was just bawling. I said bye to my kids, and I ugly cried my ass all the way to that gate, and just sat there like, holy shit. And I was the only, I think there was two other people, one of two or three on the plane completely. It was almost completely empty plane, big old plane. I sat in the front row, talked to the flight attendants, like showed them pictures of my kids, and landed. It was dark out already, so it was like nighttime when I landed in New York, and had to work at 7 o'clock in the morning and be at the hospital. So it was all very fast. It all happened. I found a place to stay in Jersey City, and you could see the Statue of Liberty like across the water from where I was staying. And
That's
I remember
cool.
like checking in and just being like, okay, this is real. Like, this is real. The first morning I drove to the hospital for the check-in, and I feel like there was just all these moments that were like, so this is actually going to happen. Like, it just didn't seem like it was a real thing until it was a real thing. And
Yeah.
I remember driving through Chinatown in Little Italy, and there was not another car. There was not a store open.
Creepy.
I know. It was, you literally, like, you see on movies like the napkin flying in the wind. That's what it was in Chinatown in New York City. And I just remember being like, holy cow, this is crazy. And like the lights and everything. And I drove back and forth every day. And just from the first day, like the moment I saw my badge, I was like, whoa, there we are. The orientation was very short. There was not a lot of order to anything. The beds were sardined to the point of I was standing on the side of one bed to reach over and get to the person on the other side of that because you couldn't walk in between. The beds had a piece of paper slapped to the front of them with like a first initial, last two letters of the name and a number. There was no rooms assigned because there was beds everywhere. There was not really an orientation. It was a tour of the department, and then take report.
Here you go.
Yeah.
Hop on in. So
Yeah.
they hired pretty much the best nurses.
From
all around.
I think it went in the beginning. They were trying to get very, very like, what am I thinking? Seasoned and experienced and knowledgeable people. And I think as the crisis became more and more of a crisis, they were just like, help, like SOS, like we need people. Yeah.
How many people were like, I don't know if we want to talk about this, but like dying? Like
8 my first day.
Jeez.
I probably saw more people die in the first 3 to 6 months of COVID than I had combined in the 10 years before that.
Man.
It was definitely kind of holy cow. But it was, I mean, you also saw the good. I saw the first person to ever walk out of that hospital. It was in the hospital I was at was in Queens. And I saw the first person ever to walk out of that hospital since COVID started, still breathing and still walking, which was like, okay, people can make it through this. Like they don't just get COVID. They can have had COVID, and they're going to make it to the other side. There was a doctor that committed suicide in New York when I was there, like first week I was there, because that's how harsh it got. There was all the conspiracy all over the news of, they're killing people, and just there was a lot going on.
Yeah.
But there also was every day there was a restaurant or like a local pizza place that was donating 1,000 pizzas to the hospital to feed
I remember
the nurses.
that.
There was subs, there was everything, and in retrospect, they were donating it because it was a tax write-off. They were keeping their restaurant swimming, but they also were feeding us. And you walked in every day, and somebody handed you a little paper bag with an orange and a little muffin in it and a little bottle of water. And it's ironic because it's like, I'm supposed to eat this how? Because I have 3 masks on and 5 suits for the next 15 hours. But they gave it to you. Like you got, they got food all the time. I would run, like just go for runs because there was a lot going on. And every day I would take the meals that I would get if I got a meal on the way in and a meal on the way out. And there was a lot of homelessness in New York at that time. So I literally would give my meals to the same couple people every single day. And you saw people band together. The apartments and buildings and everything. I have a video on my phone at 7 o'clock every single night. All you heard was screaming like you were at a Timberwolves game. Screaming for the healthcare providers, clapping, cheering, thank you. People were trapped in their apartments, and every day at 7 o'clock, all of New York City and Jersey City opened up their windows and started screaming, clapping, like ringing bells. So you saw some shit. It was worse than anybody ever talked about or could have imagined. You also saw the world come together in ways that you didn't think possible. You saw all the healthcare providers, like people from other states, other places that I've never worked with a day in our life. Second day there, we have a guy that got hit by the subway train, and we're all jumping in together, and all these nurses from all over the place are collaboratively, everything they've learned, just help this person or what have you. So it was teamwork like you've never seen teamwork. It was terrifying. I can't tell you how many people I FaceTimed for their family members for the last time. That was something that I still think about, and it's just like shit. Like I've held up the phone where I've tasted my tears and they can't even see them because I have so many goggles on, and I'm bawling, and this person doesn't even know while I'm hearing their families scream because they're saying goodbye, and I get to hold this person's hand while they take their last breath, and I'm sitting here telling their family that it's okay, they're not going to be alone. Seeing people get dropped off in the ER was horrible. Like they're hugging. Like you'd see 5 cars pull up for one person to come in, because their whole family knew that's the last time they're probably going to see them.
Dang.
And no one could come in with them.
Brutal.
Yeah. There was, lines down the street for 3 blocks. There was, all kinds of it. Lots of people died. Lots of bad, but you saw lots of good too. And you're doing
that's
something.
Crazy, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember you going. I'm like, this is like historical for sure.
I didn't realize, I don't think, when I agreed to it. Like the magnitude of it. I mean, I'm glad I did it, but initially, like I said, it wasn't real until I got there, and I was like, I'm not going home for 3 months to my children, and I'm walking into this building, and
hopefully you don't get sick.
Well, the first, I don't know, like month I was there, I think 4 or 5 healthcare workers died. We had a big like candle vigil for them all, and that was reality. Like I had worked with some of these people, and now I'm celebrating their life, and I saw them when I got here, and they were young. It was. Yeah.
So brutal.
That was crazy.
How do you compartmentalize that? You know what I mean? Like, I just feel like so many nurses or just people that are, could be people. What's the people that in the ambulance? Like
EMTs.
EMTs and paramedics and like cops, right? There's like PTSD for this stuff.
There is.
You know what I mean? Like, how do you compartmentalize all that?
I think it affects everybody differently. I think for me, I think I live my life differently because of it. I mean, on one hand, I saw people on the worst day of their life every day. Like nobody wakes up and is like, I think I'll crash my car, go into the ER. It's not on anybody's plan. Nobody's happy to see you when they get there. And there's this fine line between like, don't alter in life. Like keep your kids in a bubble versus like, YOLO, man, go do it because you never know. And I think it makes you realize too how good life actually is. You can see it and you can get engulfed in it and you can become jaded by it. Or I think you can take it and you can step back and be like this. No, I have nothing to complain about. Like all the things that are daily hard things, that the hard shit I've been through, even the really hard shit I've been through, I have nothing to complain about. There are people much worse off in life, and there is always more that could be wrong. And when you see the worst of the worst, you realize how positive everything that you do have in your life is.
Mm-hmm.
So I think, I don't know, people ask me that all the time. Like, are you traumatized? You know, do you have
Yeah.
nightmares? I will say it was hard to sleep when I was there. It's the first time I've ever bought a weighted blanket in my life. And it's funny, like 2 years after the fact, I picked up my weighted blanket that I bought in New York once Target opened. It wasn't even open when I got there because my daughter wanted it. And I like picked it up. I was like, jeez, this is heavy. Like, what in the heck? But I couldn't sleep without it there because I just, all the stuff, I mean, you're working 16-hour shifts, you're in 3 layers of clothes, you're barely having a chance to pee, you don't get a sip of water, and you just saw people die, and now you're going to go sleep for 6 hours and do it again.
Yeah.
So I mean, but I don't have like flashbacks or nightmares. I Something cool that just happened actually. We were at the Orange Theory conference in Nashville, and a guy got an IV. He was telling me about his shoulder pain. He was telling me all this stuff, and got an IV. Said he felt great, and then he left for a little while. Came back, and he goes, "You're not gonna remember me, but I remember you." And I was like, "Huh?" And I was like, "What are you talking about?" And he pulls out of his pocket. He goes, "I have something for you, and I want you to keep this." And he hands me an NYPD badge. So he was a cop in New York City when I was there working during COVID.
Wow.
And like he handed me that, and I literally was like almost in tears, just like, holy shit, like this dude knows what that was like. And their job, I think too, was something that nobody talked about or saw, the level of mental health that was happening. Like people were dying from COVID, and that's a fact. People were always also dying from murder, from suicide, from being thrown off a balcony by their spouse because they were so in, 700 square foot apartment in New York. You go literally crazy. And people didn't talk about the number of those incidences that there were.
Yeah.
But one of the things I say I'll never forget is the New York FBI accent of them saying things and like asking the people that have done things or almost done things or got involved in bad things because they were having a mental health crisis. Hearing that like mobster accent of the cops, like that's something that I think about, like when that guy gave me his badge, I'm like, whoa. So it hits me sometimes like that, but I think it honestly is just something that I see life a lot differently. Like I don't know if I'm ever really like mad. I don't know. Like I don't know. That's bad to say, but
no, it gives you perspective for sure.
I mean, like nothing can really be bad enough to ruin my day. There's so much worse that could be going on right now.
Stay steady.
Yeah.
The whole time.
And everything's gonna be like it's gonna be okay. It's
Did you meet that guy before? Did you meet him in New York?
I don't know. I don't know if he saw me there or if he saw, this half of Richfield found out I went because I was on the news a couple times. So I don't know if he saw that, like something like that, or actually physically saw me. I want to reach out to him and just be like, hey, we should stay in touch. How do you know who I am or what have you? But no, I don't remember him like specifically. It was just like a holy shit. Like this guy was there too.
It's God just dropping down. Hey, I just want to slide you this one real quick.
So
that's crazy.
Yeah, but no big, I don't know. Not anything terrible that I feel like is, and maybe I don't know, maybe that's crazy to say because everybody asks me that, but I think I think I just look at life differently. I think I'd live my life a lot differently than I would if I hadn't had all the experiences that I have had. It just gives you a new appreciation, I guess.
Yeah. So my sister's a nurse.
I know.
And then my Molly was working in the hospital too.
Yeah,
She's X-ray tech and all that stuff. So then she was like working there, and eventually she was like got numb to seeing all the shootings and the stabbings and all the stuff, right? And she was like, okay, I got to get out of here. So she ended up working at a chiropractic clinic and doing that. And so it's funny to see like your transition into your company now. Yep. And you started this company in the middle of being in New York and COVID, because we would FaceTime. Right? Yep. I'm like, hey, how you doing? What's going on? You're like, I'm out here for a run.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, I remember. You're like, here, look at this, some statues and stuff. I ran up these. Yep. You're by the ocean.
And you know who told me to go there?
Who?
Laura Durung.
Oh, Lo Jesus.
Lo Jesus. I texted her and I was like, hey, I need to go out into fresh air for a day. I have one day off. Where can I go to just like sit in the soul of the earth? And she was like, go find this park. And I did.
Love Laura Durung.
Yeah.
Just saw her at the 20-year reunion.
I was not there.
No, you weren't. It's okay. It's all right. But next time. Yeah. But anyways, it was so good to see her. And she lives in New York. She's the best. But so how did the idea to start Dynamic Drips come? And then you're like, yeah, let me add this to my plate when I'm working 20-hour days. And
Honestly, it's something I thought about probably close to 10 years ago when I was working at Regions.
wow.
At the time, a different nurse that worked there, her mom was dabbling in it a little bit down in Key West, and it was all about hangovers. Like you saw it with celebrities every once in a while. It was like Vegas, Cali, Miami, and that's it. And it was all like, come save me when I've had some poor decisions and I stayed up way too late and did some things.
Yeah.
And it wasn't, to be honest, I bartended and served all through nursing school, and I was like, not what I want. I don't want to just do that. And then when I was in New York and when COVID happened, it started to make its way into more of a wellness space. I actually came home and surprised my daughter on her birthday and ran into a different nurse I used to work with at Regions, and she kind of reminded me, like, it's a thing. Like, this is a thing now. This thing that you had talked about this long time ago is becoming a thing now, and just starting to look into it, and it started moving into more of like a wellness space and became a thing that people were using it to feel good. And I was like, maybe it's time. I don't know if I can do this shit anymore.
Yeah.
I think too, like, there's got to be a better way. You see, like, statistically, I think like 26 something percent, some big chunk of ER visits, almost a quarter of all ER visits across the US get a bag of saline, 1 or 2 non-narcotic medications that we can now give in your home. But the average cost is $2,500, and the average time spent there is 6 to 8 hours.
Yeesh.
So in knowing that and seeing, like, just person after person, a bag of fluid and you go home, IVs have always been my sweet spot. It's always been like my thing. This has been my baby. I hadn't seen it yet in the state of Minnesota, and I just started kind of doing it. Honestly, I don't know how I did it. It's funny to think about. Like, I literally planned everything and did everything. I mean, I built the website. I remember everywhere I was during COVID. I was in New York initially, and then I was actually back in the state of Minnesota working for a while. I was in Florida for a contract. I was in Michigan for a period of time. Everywhere I was, I remember sitting and, like, on the night shift when there wasn't much going on, I'd be plugging it in. I'd wake up an hour extra early, and I'd be looking stuff up and be making phone calls and doing all these things. And I just started kind of doing it, I guess. I don't know. I have absolutely no idea, as silly as that sounds.
Yeah.
I didn't write a business plan. I don't think even realize I was starting a business, to be honest. I just started doing something that was different because it was a thing that I could do with my nursing that I knew I already loved, and that I could potentially not work in the hospital as much, I guess. So I guess I really never was like, I'm starting a company. I just was starting to do something differently. And then I came back from wherever it was. I was last Michigan, I think was the last out-of-state place that I was, and just started kind of figuring it out and got to a point where I remember I built the website, the first website, like totally myself. And I remember a friend of mine being like, why didn't you pay someone to do that for you?
Yeah.
And I was like, I could have paid someone to do that for me. I didn't even know that that was a thing. I made the logo. I didn't have any idea what I was doing. I didn't know that the business, there was things in business. I didn't know there was resources for business. I didn't know it wasn't business.
You got to hire that out.
I know.
But now you know how.
Now I know how, and I just started doing it. I started calling people like yourself and being like, hey, you should try this. I know it's good for you. One thing I know that you believe in business is you have to believe in what you do. And it's something that I have literally, in all the years I've been a nurse, I have seen IVs be a lifeline. This is how we help people literally live and get through what they're going through. I have seen it change people. I've seen just a bag of saline. Like, forget the vitamins, fluid. If we are hydrated, we are different people. And I've just seen that over and over and over. Like, I truly I know in my soul, more fluid for your body will make you feel better. You will feel better if you're hydrated. And so I believed in it, and I started calling people like you and my friends, and I'm like, this is what I'm doing now. Let me know if you want to try it. It's good for you. I swear it is.
Yep.
And it just, from there, here we are.
Huge takeaways. 1, believe in what you're doing. 2, let people know what you're doing.
Yeah.
Like, literally call people and be like, hey, this is what I'm doing if you're interested. Most people will not do that. I cannot tell you how scared people are.
Yeah.
To put themselves out there. But when you believe in something so much, it doesn't seem like you're selling something. You're just
No.
like, hey, I'm just sharing this with you. If you're down, cool.
I always tell my
I know it
nurses,
will help you.
educating.
Yeah, you're
Educating
educating.
people on what you can do for them.
Educating and
How
sharing.
you can help them. Yep.
I always tell people, take the words like selling,
Out of it.
sell, and do share.
No.
If you just say I'm sharing, it's a big difference.
Well, the other thing is like you don't want their money, you want their health.
Yep.
You want them to feel good. My goal is for you to feel good.
Amen.
If you don't feel good, I don't want your money then. I don't even
Mhm.
want you to pay me.
No.
It's not selling. It's not like I'm selling you to try to get you to pay me all the time and buy things. I'm educating you so that you realize how good you can feel.
Mhm.
And then if you feel better, your whole life is better.
Mhm.
All the things. It's a domino effect.
Amen. Amen. That's so good. So get started, even if you don't know what you're doing.
I still don't know what I'm doing most
Yeah.
days. Yeah, I mean, right now, let's see, we got 30 nurses and we're all over the place and
Yeah.
hundreds of appointments a month, and I still don't know what I'm doing.
That's the
But
way
we're
it
doing
goes.
it.
I've been
We're
doing this
doing
for 15 years, almost 16 years, and we're going to London tomorrow for a week to go learn more.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, what are they doing over here? Let's go learn over here and
Yeah.
buzz around a little bit. So always being a learner is really, really important. But then for you to go from nursing to more preventative care.
Yeah.
Hey, what are you doing?
Yep.
That's
Wellness.
That's her puppy.
That's my puppy. That's Chop Chop.
Yeah.
Wellness, preventative care, recovery. Yeah. All
Yeah.
the things surrounding how we don't end up really sick and in the hospital in the first place.
Yep. And that was the whole thing Molly was talking about. She goes,
Yep.
I want to help people to not get here.
Yep.
And so that was my thing too. Like from training was cool from doing personal training, but I realized if I could master their nutrition and help them just be healthier, the workout was a bonus.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like then they could really change their whole life and then like take my advice and my information and then go share it with somebody else. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like so everyone can live healthier. So that's why me and you mesh.
Yeah.
Cause we're like,
both
okay.
Put the right things in so that
Yep.
the right comes out.
Amen. So it's
Yeah.
super good. How can people get a hold of you?
All kinds of ways. So here's some info. We
We'll share
have
this.
12 different infusions. We have a whole bunch of things to add on. The name of this company is Dynamic Drips. We're on Instagram at Dynamic Drips. We are on Facebook. The website is www.dynamicdrips.com. And then you can always call or text. The phone number is 612-208-8245.
So with that, they're going to contact you. So name some situations, say the top 5 situations people would call you to come give them some hydration.
All right. Well, I would say hands down right now, it's flu season. People are feeling ill. People are knowing that they're going to be around a crowd of people and lots of other people's germs. So a lot of flu season, either I'm starting to feel something coming on or, okay, I've been ill for a little while. I'm not getting better. We give you literally gas in your tank to fight off whatever it is that's going on. So illnesses, we do a ton of travel. And then I would say we do a ton of athletic performance and recovery. We work with a lot of athletes, young and adult aged, only company in the state that can see pediatric patients. So kids are a large population of ours as well.
That's dope. And pro athletes?
We do see some pro athletes.
That's awesome.
We do work with some professional athletes.
So dope.
Lots of collegiate level athletes and teams as well, which is so cool. It's the coolest and craziest thing in the world to walk into universities and professional training facilities and have people be like, thank you for being here. You're making a difference.
Yeah.
It's like, what in the world?
That's so cool.
But it's cool.
So what if there's some nurses out there like, yo, I want to be a part of it, contact you the exact same way? Are you taking on more nurses?
Same way. We're always looking for good nurses. Okay. I hire nurses on who they are, not what they can do. I also have taught IV insertion for all the years I've been a nurse. So I can teach you how to put a needle in very nicely. I can't teach you how to care about every patient that we see in the same exact way and treat them with respect and professionalism. Always looking for new nurses. We have an inquiry on our website. So if you go to the About section, it shows myself and tells you a little bit about me. Shows you all the pretty faces of our nurses. And then there's a little form underneath that you can say, hey, I want to be a part of this. And I will say every single nurse that is a part of this loves what we do.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
That's so dope.
I think that's what is the coolest part is nurses love what they do. They feel fulfilled. They get hugs goodbye. They get welcomed when you see the patient. It's a cool thing to see.
You really build a relationship.
Yeah, the morale of what we do is very positive.
It's good culture. It's what we pride ourselves on
I say
too.
all the time, we're changing the culture of nursing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it should be a positive thing. We should feel good when we're making people feel good.
Amen.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to add before we close out?
I don't think so.
No?
I don't know.
That was awesome.
Take care of yourself.
Yeah. Anyways, thanks for being on. Super proud of you.
No problem, Nate. I knew you were gonna high five me.
Yes.
Always a high five.
Always a high five.
Always a high five.
Yep. All right, y'all. Share this episode. Share it with your nurse friends, females, men, women, athletes, everybody. Thanks for being on, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks for having me.
You got it.
See ya.